Welcome to the Mystery Snapshots of History, where the past holds more secrets than you ever imagined. In 1924, a man was photographed sitting inside the bucket of an excavator above the Hollywood sign during construction on the hills of Los Angeles. A coachman was seen adjusting his horse's harness on a snowy street in Paris during the winter of 1920. Before cars became common, horse-drawn vehicles like this one were widely used to transport passengers and goods. In January 1986, Krista McAuliffe's parents and sister watched the launch of the Space Shuttle Challenger at the Kennedy Space Center. As part of the Teacher in Space program, Krista became the first civilian to join a U.S. space mission. During the Prague Spring of 1968, Czech citizens faced off against Warsaw Pact troops and tanks sent to crush democratic reforms in Czechoslovakia. The rock formation called the Six Grandfathers in South Dakota's Black Hills was photographed in 1927, just before the start of carving what would later become Mount Rushmore. In 1969, astronaut David Scott took in the view of space while performing a spacewalk outside the Gumdrop Command Module during the Apollo 9 mission. This mission was crucial for testing the lunar module and in-orbit maneuvers ahead of the moon landing. Brigitte Bardot and Jean Gabin co-starred in the French film Love is My Profession, which was released in 1958. The story follows a young woman's relationship with a seasoned lawyer, exploring themes like desire, power, and morality. In the late 1802, a wine vendor walked through the streets of Istanbul with a large barrel strapped to his back using ropes and leather harnesses. Photographed around 1948, Stiles Jr., known as Lobster Boy, belonged to a family affected by a rare congenital condition passed down through generations. In 1965, Pelé showcased his talent with a famous bicycle kick at Maracanã Stadium in Rio de Janeiro during a match that highlighted his brilliance. After toppling Russia's provisional government on the 7th of November, 1917, Soviet soldiers posed for a group photo. The event marked the beginning of the October Revolution and the rise of the socialist state. Arctic explorer Peter Freuchen appeared with his wife Dagmar Kohn in a well-known 1947 photograph. He was known for his Greenland expeditions, while Dagmar was a Danish fashion designer and illustrator. In 1995, Bill Clinton and Boris Yeltsin stood overlooking the Hudson River Valley in New York, sharing an informal diplomatic moment while discussing strategic matters. Photographed in 1869, the Parthenon stood atop the Acropolis in Athens, towering over a sparsely developed city. Built in the 5th century BC, the temple was dedicated to Athena and remains a lasting symbol of ancient Greek architecture. A behind-the-scenes photo from the 1954 film Godzilla captures the actor wearing the monster suit during filming in Japan. The production made use of practical effects, miniature sets, and heavy costumes to bring the creature to life in urban destruction scenes. In 1962, just months before her passing, Marilyn Monroe participated in her final photo shoot under the lens of photographer George Barris. To shield it from possible bombings during World War II, Michelangelo's statue of David was enclosed within a protective brick structure. During the 1932nd, the chief engineer of the Golden Gate Bridge insisted on placing a safety net beneath the bridge throughout its construction. Archaeological digs in Pompeii, Italy, were conducted in 1961, revealing buildings, utensils, and frescoes that had been preserved under layers of volcanic ash. In January 1924, British archaeologists Alfred Lucas and Arthur Mace studied a statue retrieved from the antechamber of Tutankhamun's tomb in Egypt's Valley of the Kings. Mylene Smith, best known for her appearance as a Bond girl in Live and Let Die, was photographed in the 1972nd at the peak of her fame. The interior of the airship USS Shenandoah was captured in a photo taken around 1922 during its construction at Lakehurst Naval Air Station in New Jersey. On the 21st of August, 1958, the aircraft carrier USS Enterprise CV-6, one of the few to survive World War II, was towed away to be dismantled. By 1974, 5 years after the Apollo 11 mission, Neil Armstrong had taken on a new role as an aerospace engineering professor at the University of Cincinnati. In 1970, Valentina Tereshkova, the first woman in space, presented a commemorative badge to American astronaut Neil Armstrong during a symbolic meeting. A 27-mile network of pneumatic tube tunnels once linked 23 post offices across New York City, moving capsules filled with letters and parcels at high speed. Children were seen playing baseball in a narrow alley of a poor neighborhood in Washington, D.C. in 1940, with the Capitol Dome visible in the background. Despite harsh conditions, they found ways to enjoy their surroundings among fences, laundry lines, and dirt paths. In 1895, when Las Vegas was still a rural area, a man and his dog posed in front of a modest adobe cabin beside a creek. The set of Ghostbusters was documented in 1984, offering a look behind the scenes with the film's cast and production team during the making of the sci-fi comedy. In the 1892nd, loggers in California cut down massive sequoia trees using handsaws and axes, working among the towering trunks of ancient forests. The first Mercedes-Benz AMG, the 300 SEL 6.8 AMG, was developed in 1971 by the newly established AMG Tuning Company in Germany. Mike Summerbee, a footballer from Manchester City, demonstrated the built-in turntable in his Volvo Pony 1000 800-inch 1967 photo. Installed in the dashboard, it allowed music to be played from vinyl records while driving. One of North Dakota's most iconic moments was captured during the Great Blizzard of 1966, when snowdrifts rose as high as 39 feet, burying structures and bringing the area to a halt. The first bookmobile of the Cincinnati Public Library was documented around 1927-inch the United States. Mounted on a modified vehicle, the system allowed residents in remote areas to borrow books without needing access to fixed library branches. The 1959 Ford police car, used by departments across the United States, reflected the era's design with dual headlights, rounded contours, and a roof-mounted siren. Equipped with a V8 engine and a two-way radio, the vehicle served both city streets and highway patrol duties. Jack Nicholson was photographed during a break on the set of The Shining in 1980, sitting alone on a chair in the middle of the snow-covered set. In 1964, approximately 3,000 workers who helped construct the Chase Manhattan Bank gathered for a group photo in New York City. The image was taken in front of the newly finished skyscraper in Manhattan's financial district, representing the post-war economic boom. A homeless settlement was recorded in Central Park, New York City, in 1932 during the Great Depression. Known as Hoovervilles, these makeshift shelters were built by unemployed residents in public spaces throughout the city. An aerial photo from 1931 offers a clear view of Manhattan Island with its structured grid of streets and Central Park positioned at the center. In 1931, Hamilton Cove Seaplane Airport operated on Catalina Island, California, serving as one of the first of its kind in the United States. Audrey Hepburn was photographed during filming in Paris in 1966 on the set of How to Steal a Million. In the film, she plays the daughter of an art forger and co-stars in a romantic comedy that blends suspense and charm. In 1962, Fidel Castro was photographed donating blood to aid victims of a devastating earthquake in Peru that caused extensive damage and casualties. The Spaghetti Aid, created by American amateur inventor Russell E. Oakes in 1955, was a handheld device designed to automatically wind spaghetti onto a fork. A lifeguard was stationed at Brighton Beach, New York in 1906, watching over crowds at one of the city's busiest shorelines. Nose art on a B-25 Mitchell aircraft named the Ink Squirts U from the 41st Bombardment Group showcased typical World War II illustrations. In 1935, A piano was specially developed in Britain for bedridden patients, allowing them to continue playing music while recovering. Finnish soldiers raised their war flag on the 27th of April, 1945, at the tripoint of Norway, Sweden, and Finland. The act marked the official end of World War II for Finland. Princess Elizabeth visited an American air base in England in 1944 during World War II. Dressed in military uniform, she met aviators and inspected facilities in support of Allied forces. In 1868, local residents were seen fishing along the Tiber River near Castel Sant'Angelo in Rome during the Papal States era. With rods and baskets in hand, they lined the riverbank beneath the historic fortress. Between 1900 and 1910, a hired reader read aloud to cigar factory workers in Cuba while they rolled cigars by hand. At Henry's store in Birmingham, England, a Santa Claus training school was held on the 12th of November, 1957 to prepare performers for the holiday season. Participants of the 1955 Sanja Festival in Asakusa, Tokyo, wore a mix of traditional and modern clothing during the lively celebration. In the 1922nd, scribes offered services to the public on Las Ramblas in Barcelona, assisting people who were unable to read or write. In 1935, performers from the Mills Vaudeville show underwent medical examinations before beginning their tour across the United States. Immigrants arriving at Ellis Island in 1904 were photographed at the start of their journey into a new life in America. With name tags and minimal belongings, entire families passed through the gates after long sea voyages. A shoe-shaped promotional car drove through the streets of San Francisco, California in 1922, drawing attention as part of a marketing campaign. The Peel P50, a one-seat microcar produced in the United Kingdom during the 1962nd, holds the title of the smallest mass-produced car. It could reach speeds of up to 40 miles per hour and fit into extremely tight spaces. At the Names Monastery in Romania, skulls of saints from the 15th century were arranged and displayed as part of an Orthodox tradition of preserving sacred relics. Workers posed next to one of the three massive funnels of the RMS Titanic during its construction at the Harland and Wolff shipyards in Belfast in the early 1902nd. Two Western men known as sun worshippers were photographed in August 1905-inch New Guinea's Katakura region, living in a way that rejected mainstream Western norms. In the early morning hours of a Sunday, young newspaper vendors known as newsies posed with their dog in Boston, smiling as they prepared for their rounds. In 1945, a boy stood watching the entrance of McSorley's Old Ale House in New York City. A banner reading, "Welcome home, McSorley boys," honored veterans returning from World War II. An airplane with its engine running was displayed on a city avenue during a military preparedness parade in the United States in 1916, likely in New York or Chicago. In a comedic short film from the 1922nd, Buster Keaton tested a prototype of a personal motorized vehicle in one of his early experiments with visual humor. Leonardo DiCaprio was photographed in 1995 during his rise to fame, capturing the youthful image of the future Hollywood star. By 1925, automobile traffic had dramatically increased in Midtown Manhattan, and the streets of New York City had become heavily congested. A photograph taken in 1956 shows the busy Gran Via in Madrid, highlighting both the heavy traffic and the elegant architectural details of the city center. Canal Street in New Orleans was photographed in 1890, featuring electric streetcars, horse-drawn carriages, and a lively urban atmosphere. Italian street musicians performed along the sidewalks of London in 1877, drawing the attention of children and local passers-by. A family was photographed camping beside a rural road in 1910, using an auto tent that attached directly to their car for shelter during long trips. The Sydney Opera House officially opened in 1973, with a ceremony attended by Queen Elizabeth II. Designed by Danish architect Jørn Utzon, the structure became a global icon of modern architecture and a national cultural symbol for Australia. Traditional Appalachian musicians played acoustic instruments on the wooden porch of a farmhouse, while a dog lay peacefully at their feet. A mother posed next to her daughter in a formal studio portrait taken in the United States in 1910. A mail carrier delivered letters in Pabuk, France during the early 20th century, traveling between villages either on foot or by bicycle. A coastal road scene from Whitby, United Kingdom, in 1920 captures pedestrians and vehicles enjoying a typical English summer's day. A 1912 poster illustrated proper etiquette for early cinema audiences, providing guidance on expected behavior during film screenings. On the 4th of October, 1941, British and Commonwealth servicemen attended a friendly football match between England and Scotland in London. Vladimir Lenin was photographed in Turkey in 1922 during a rare moment of rest. He appeared in simple clothing beside a dog named Ida, interacting calmly in an informal setting. At a campaign rally in 1960, Lyndon B. Johnson shouted at nearby pilots to shut down their aircraft engines so that John F. Kennedy could deliver his speech. In 1904, women browsed fabric and home decor items at the ILM department store in Copenhagen, Denmark. They wore long dresses and elegant hats while shopping in a bright, organized space. Between 1865 and 1868, photographer Charles Marville captured Saint-André-des-Arts Street in Paris's 6th arrondissement, depicting painted storefront, aged buildings, and horse-drawn carts before the city's major renovations. The St. John's Park Freight Terminal, located at the intersection of Hudson and Lake Streets in New York City, was actively in use during the early 1902. In 1917, a young Al Capone, then 19 years old, was photographed in the United States alongside his father Gabriel and his uncle. At the time, he had not yet entered the world of organized crime and lived with his family in Brooklyn, New York. The doll, created by German artist Hans Bellmer in 1936, was a sculpture made of articulated parts. It was photographed in provocative poses as a critique of authoritarianism and societal control over the human body.